Good evening and welcome to the October 16th meeting of the Des Moines City Planning and Zoning Commission. I will start by reading our rules and procedures. The Plan and Zoning Commission is generally an advisory body to the City Council. Council will hold a public hearing and make the final decision on all matters before the Commission other than site plans and subdivision plats, unless denials or conditional approvals thereof are appealed. The applicant will be given 10 minutes to present the request. Proponents and then opponents from the public are then allowed to speak in that order, with each speaker allowed a maximum of 5 minutes. The applicant is then allowed 5 minutes for a rebuttal. The hearing will then be closed and the commission will discuss and vote on the issue. All comments are to be germane to the item under consideration and speakers are to maintain a courteous manner. Items listed on the consent portion of the agenda will not be individually discussed and will be considered for approval in accordance with the recommendation in the staff report unless an individual present or a member of the commission requests that the item be removed from the consent agenda and considered separately under the public hearing agenda. To start, could we have a motion to approve the minutes from our last meeting?
I'll make a motion.
Thank you, Rick. All in favor, please raise your right hand. Any passes? And is anyone calling in? No? Okay. Okay, we will move to the consent agenda. Item number 1 is a request from Terrace Place Building for review and approval of a public hearing site plan, Terrace Place site plan update for property located at 2600 Grand Avenue and for a type 2 design alternative in accordance with city code to allow an accessory building type not otherwise permitted per city code. Is anyone in the audience here tonight to discuss this item? Would anyone on the commission like this pulled from consent? Item 1 will stay on consent. Item number 2 is a request from QSA LLC for review and approval of a public hearing site plan Southwest 9th Laundromat for property located at 2923 Southwest 9th Street and for a type 2 design alternative in accordance with city code to waive public sidewalk installation along Broad Street per city code. Would anyone in the audience tonight like this item moved to the public hearing agenda and discussed? Anyone on the commission? Okay. Item 2 will also stay on consent. Item number 3 is a request from John Beard for designation of the W.W. Whitmer House at 2900 Grand Avenue as a local landmark. Would anyone in the audience tonight like this item moved to the public hearing agenda and discussed? And the commission? Item number 3 stays on consent. Item number 4 is a request from Lucas and Heather Grobin for review and approval of a public hearing site plan for property located at 5315 Welker Avenue and for a type 2 design alternative in accordance with city code to allow construction of an accessory structure in the front yard where accessory structures are only allowed in the side or rear yard per code. Would anyone in the audience tonight like this item moved to a public hearing and discussed? How about the commissioners? Item number 4 also stays on consent. Item number 5 is a request from Fernando Veliz for review and approval of a public hearing site plan, Veliz Auto Repair, for property located at 1444 Wayne Street and for type 2 design alternatives in accordance with city code for the following. A, allow surface parking in the front yard where required to be in a rear or interior side yard per code. B, allow garage entrance on the front facade where required to be on a rear or interior side facade per code. C, waive occupied space requirements where a minimum of 20-foot depth on ground story of a primary frontage shall be office per city code. And D, waive minimum transparency per each story and any half story, including blank wall limitations where 15% transparency is required per code. Would anyone in the audience tonight like this item moved to the public hearing agenda and discussed? Yes? I'm sorry, I'll speak into the mic better. Are you here to discuss item 5? Yes, okay. That item will move to public hearing. So consent agenda includes items 1 through 4. Could we have a motion to move the consent agenda?
I'll move.
Thanks, Emily. All in favor, please raise your right hand. Motion passes. And we'll start public hearing with item number 5, and Jasmine will present. Let us know if you can't hear Jasmine very well in the back.
All right, good evening, Jasmine Kamani, planning staff. Today we're here to review design alternatives for 1444 Wayne Street. This is located west of Union Pacific Railroad, north of Easton Boulevard, and south of East Washington Avenue. The property is zone EX. Here is a visual of from Wayne Street looking to the west. Zoom in on this so you can see a little bit better. Okay, so the proposed site plan allows construction of a new auto repair shop building about 25 feet wide by 44 foot deep. For the site to be feasible for the business to operate, they've proposed parking in the front yard as well as a overhead door on the front facade. And then they've also proposed a little bit of office space in this kind of red area designated here, with 2 bay service bays here. And they have also requested for a design alternative for the transparency requirements. So as you see here, they have proposed a transom window above the entrance door and some windows on the overhead door here. So they are asking for that waiver for the transparency requirements as well. Staff, let me go back to the site actually. So without these waivers, essentially their only alternative is to access from the rear through the public alley, which as you see in the photo has some existing landscaping back there. So that's kind of the reason for their request to approve those waivers. But staff agrees and recommends approval subject to compliance with administrative comments. But I'm here for any questions, and I believe the applicant is here with us as well.
Any questions for Jasmine? Okay, thank you. Is the applicant present? If you'd like, you have 10 minutes to present. Please do state your name and address for a record and sign in on that white paper when you're done.
Hi, I'm Jeff Nesbick. I'm the civil engineer for CDA on this project, representing the applicant. I don't have anything else additional to add as far as Jasmine said there, but I'm just here for any questions that you may have as well, or any that the public may have.
Okay. Any questions for civil?
Question.
Go ahead.
I have a question. The parking lot here in the front of the building, I assume that's going to be concrete. Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct.
All right, thank you.
Okay, thank you. We'll now move to audience input. Is anyone in the audience here to speak in favor of this proposal? Please come forward. Please state your name and address for the record and also sign in on that white sheet when you're done. You have up to 5 minutes.
Ernestine Farley, 1633 Oakland Avenue. I don't understand, but I'm not, don't want to do the zoning. And when they sent me the papers and I looked at it, it looks like I'm at 1502 Wayne, the property right next to 1444, and that is already somewhat on my land. So
So you own the lot to the north, just to clarify.
yes, 1502.
Well, Steph, could you go back to one of the site plan? And this might be, maybe the applicant's rep, when he come, under rebuttal, can come back and just talk about doing, survey work, just, and ensuring that the property is, that they're constructing on the applicant's property, not on the neighbor's property. Is that the main concern, is just the
Yes.
possible encroachment?
Yes.
If they follow the drawing, they should be completely on their property, assuming that the fundamentals of the drawing are correct. But we can have the engineer talk about that a little bit when he gets a chance. But we want to make sure if you have any other questions or concerns.
No, because I went down there and looked, and it looked like he's already on my line, on my property. But that's my concern,
Okay.
right past the fire hydrant.
Jasmine, so this photograph is both the applicant's lot and this lady's lot, you think, or?
Yeah, approximately where that white.
So just for those that can't, Jasmine doesn't have a microphone, the thought is that some of that grassy area in this picture to the right, maybe where that light colored pole is, somewhere in there might be where the property line is.
Okay.
Thank you. Is anyone else in the audience here to speak on this item, either in favor? Okay. Anyone else in the audience here to speak on this item? Okay. Applicant, you do have 5 minutes if you need it for a rebuttal.
Sure. Thank you for bringing that concern up. We did go out and do a survey of the property and everything prior to, and found property pins, did everything that we typically do when we create the boundary through here, and did our research. When we do the construction of the property, we'll go out, we'll set construction limits, we'll make sure that no improvements encroach on the adjacent properties or anything of that nature. So what we do have here is what the actual physical property limits are, and we are maintaining our improvements within the lot.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, I'll close the public hearing and leave it to the commissioners for discussion and motions.
I don't have any concerns that the folks from CDA and their team will build this on the neighbor's property. No concerns here. So if there's any discussion, or there isn't, I would move staff.
Thank you. Any discussion on the motion? All in favor, please raise your right hand. Motion passes. Thank you. And we will move to item number 6. Item 6 is a request from JAPA for the following regarding multiple parcels located in the vicinity of 2501 Maury Street that are owned by the City of Des Moines and the Wastewater Reclamation Authority. A, determination as to whether the requested rezoning is in conformance with Plan DSM. B, amend Plan DSM to revise the future land use classification of the property from business park, business park, public, semi-public, and parks and open space 2, low, medium density residential. C, rezone property from EX mixed use district, P2 public, civic, and institutional district, and I1 industrial district to RX1 mixed use district to allow a future development that includes permanent and temporary houses and associate uses. And Sriyoshi is going to present for us.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Sriyoshi Chakraborty, Planning Staff. I'm going to present item 6, which is a request from JAPA for multiple parcels located in the vicinity of 2501 Maury Street. This is the subject property. It's approximately a little over 10 acres, and it's just to the south of Maury Street and to the west of Southeast 25th Court. The request for the rezoning is from JAPA. However, I do want to point out that the land that you are seeing here that is being proposed to be rezoned currently is under the ownership of City of Des Moines and the Wastewater Reclamation Authority. The subject property area is currently zoned into multiple districts. So you can see here it's currently EX, part of it is EX, P2, and then some of it is also I1. Concurrently, the land use designation is also multiple. There's parks and open space, business park, as well as public. So the request is to rezone it to RX1 and to low density residential designation, which would allow JAPA to propose a project that includes a mix of housing products as well as associated services on the property. Currently, the subject property is mostly vacant, as you can see, but to the northern portion, there is an existing building structure, which was a former school building. It is proposed to retain that building structure to use it as a community service building. And then there is a greenhouse structure to the south right here, which is proposed to be demolished. And then there is some paved surface parking, which is also to be retained and used for the future project. The remainder of the area is vacant. The applicant has broken out the project into a couple phases. The area to the north of Vale Street is considered as phase 1. And then to the south, this area is phase 2. And right now, phase 2 is long-term, so we do not have the details of that. And I'll be primarily talking about phase 1. This is a large-scale development plan that the applicant submitted, which is required for any property that is large, over 5 acres, and has a multi-phased development to have a large broad overview of the street network connectivity, open space, and just how the development basically flows. So we like to see that when property this size is proposed for development. As I mentioned, right now, the details that have been presented to staff in the large-scale development plan is phase 1, which is this area that's reddish, shaded reddish in color. And you can see it's a conceptual layout. It's not a site plan, but it's a little bit more detailed than what you would see in a typical rezoning sketch. So you can see here, this is the existing community building that is to be retained and used for a few different proposed uses that have been outlined here under the principal uses. So there could be visitor check-in, offices, a common meal area, classroom spaces, health clinics, arts and crafts type spaces. So there's a few different things that have been proposed here. Additionally, you can see that under the principal uses, there are permanent homes and temporary homes. The permanent homes are a variety of housing products. They can be single units, they can be bi-attached, triplex, and they're proposed in a variety of different square footage, various sizes. Additionally, there's also a few temporary homes proposed. They are marked right here. The temporary homes are what the applicant proposes them as guest cottages and are to be used by the volunteers. Additionally, there are also some accessory uses that are proposed in the area. The details are not quite fleshed out, but it includes things like open space, parks, community gardens, laundry facility, trash area, a worship space, and that kind of thing. But that's primarily what's there in the large-scale development plan. Currently, there is of course, an access off of Maury Street. The applicant is going to need a secondary access into the site as well because of the proposed number of units. Okay, I will move on to some site photographs just to provide an overview of what the existing site looks like. So this is the existing building on the site. This is the driveway off of Maury Street. This is another view. This is looking west on Maury Street. This is looking east. To the east, to the north and east primarily are lower density single family housing, but as you go further south and to the west, the land use is more industrial in nature. This is a close-up of the existing building that is proposed as a community service building. And here's the surface parking lot looking further south into the undeveloped area that is currently just open space with trees and vegetation. Here's a picture of the existing greenhouse that is proposed to be demolished. And another view looking north to the property from the driveway off of Maury Street. I do want to point out that there is some zoning history to this proposal. You have seen it before when the applicant had proposed the project in a different location. That was at 1661 County Line Road, and it came before the commission. The commission did recommend approval, but it did not go before City Council for a final action. Since then, the applicant has, as you can see, selected a new location in the vicinity of Maury Street and intends to withdraw the previous rezoning application on County Line Road. Staff does support this rezoning request. Staff believes that the housing product that is being proposed with this particular project is something that is not currently available in Des Moines and does add to the diversity of housing options for the community. The location has access to infrastructure and amenities. So the project as proposed is something that staff does support so long as the development is done in accordance with the uses and the layout that's proposed in the large-scale development plan, as well as meeting the standard requirements of building and fire, planning and design ordinance, stormwater management, etc. So staff does recommend support of the rezoning request subject to the condition that any principal uses on the property shall be limited to and be in accordance with those described in the approved large-scale development plan to the satisfaction of the planning and urban design administrator. And when I was walking through the large-scale development plan, I listed out the principal uses, and those would be the uses that apply. The applicant conducted a neighborhood meeting with, as required for any rezoning. City staff was also in attendance at this neighborhood meeting because this is a slightly unique situation in which the city is the owner of the land, but the city was there to provide more of an overview of the process. The applicant talked to the neighbors and provided them information about what they're proposing as is outlined in their summary. There's some additional information as well, including sign-in sheet and design details that were shared during the meeting. I will let the applicant go into further details and talk about the information that was shared with the neighbors during their presentation. And with that, we haven't received any comment cards from the neighbors within the notification boundary of this rezoning. This is the consent map. And if you have any questions, I'll be happy.
I have a question. Just because I noticed the water near there, I don't know if it's a lake or if it's a retention pond or what that is, but I'm wondering if there's any analysis of flooding or any requirements of emergency preparedness in that event.
Yes, that's a lake. It's a. So you're talking about this
Yeah.
water feature right here? Yeah, and it is within levee protected area, so there's less chances of flooding. However, the applicant as you might have seen in the large scale development plan, they have not utilized this space and left it as open space, with probably the caveat of being erring on the side of caution and not getting too close to.
Well, I definitely encourage disaster planning, just because we know that folks would have a hard time evacuating should some unintended weather event occur.
Any other questions for Sriyoshi? Thank you.
Yeah,
Oh,
I do have a question. Chesterfield is the name of the neighborhood as well. And I don't know, 10 or 15 years ago, there was interest in some kind or another about the school itself in terms of the building. Did anything ever come of that?
Not that I'm aware of. I don't know, maybe Bert or Jason could speak to that.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think the city's owned the building. It's been a community center over the years, has had different functions. The Parks Department uses the property for the greenhouse space, or has, but built new. But I don't recall anything recently as far as like any discussion about any neighborhood-driven efforts to see something of the building.
It was something to do with the preservation of the building.
Well, I think it's
and the
just,
utility of the building. And I'm glad to see that it's here and going to be used for, a good.
yeah, I think it's been long recognized, the historic nature of the building, particularly the original part of it on the west end, and the value that brings, trying to provide a reuse for it. So that's still in the cards as far as trying to find a way to preserve it. So I think probably we're working towards the things that you've heard about maybe 10 years ago, about people wanting to see something done with it. This provided a way to use it.
Thank you. Is the applicant present? If you'd like, please come forward, state your name and address for our record, and sign in on the white sheet when you are done, and you have up to 10 minutes.
Good evening. Jim and I are here, excited to be here again this time. And so Joe Stevens, JAPA, 2326 Euclid Avenue in Des Moines, 50310. And Jim's address would be the same. Jim Hagberg.
Jim Hagberg. I'm the project director for the project. I'm also a board member of JAPA, and I'm also a professional engineer. So, Joe, did you want to open up with?
Sure.
Yeah.
Like I said, we're excited to be here again. We have a 17-year history. I think most of you know that JAPA helps homeless people survive, find housing, and rebuild their lives. And so for 17 years, we've been going out to where people live under bridges and tents and in vehicles, and developing relationships with them and helping them get into housing. So to date, we've helped over 750 people. It's actually above 764. As you see on your screen, people get into housing in our 17 years of existence, and we have an 83% track record of keeping them in housing because of programs like our aftercare and Circle of Friends programs that stay with people after they're off the streets. And so we did that through a scattered site model, working with our partners here in the city, all the people that do homeless services, Veterans Administration, Primary Health Care, Central Iowa Shelter, Iowa Homeless Youth, on and on. So in working with those other organizations, we've been able to help more than one person get off the streets every week. Last year we helped 91 individuals. This year we've helped over, I think it's 84 as of today, year to date. So we know how to help people get off the streets and stay off the streets, and this is a chance to get people together in a single village environment. I would like to share, though, that what we do and have done for 17 years is not what's going to happen at this site. This site is a permanent village, and there will not be a camping allowed nearby. And so we're just excited about building, as you call it, this kind of housing product for people that are chronically homeless, and that, of course, means they have a disability and they've been on the streets for a very long time. And so these are people that no other program has reached, and we're going to be able to do this at no taxpayer expense. So we're excited to continue on with that, and I'm going to let Jim take it.
So and if you recall, precisely 9 months ago, we were before y'all seeking rezoning of a different property. After that, city officials came to us and proposed we develop the Chesterfield Scott Elementary School, former elementary school, and adjoining property. So we investigated, discussed it, and decided, yeah, this is a better location for us. And August, the city council voted to have the city manager develop a lease purchase agreement with us for the land, and that will go to vote at the city council on Monday. So we've got, I believe, is Malcolm on the line? Okay. Malcolm got run into travel troubles, but Malcolm Hankins, the assistant city manager, is on the phone with us, which is unusual, but just here to demonstrate the city's support for the project. So, and also relatedly, the Polk County supervisors voted to award us $1.28 million towards development of the project. Sri Oshi went over the large-scale development plan. If any questions come up about that, Tim West with Snyder Engineering is here to answer any questions y'all might have. This is the draft city plan on city plan on the city property. And you can see in this, there's a total of 59 units, including 5 of the temporary guest cottages, which are for people who would be volunteers that would come for a weekend or a week or two to work amongst this population. We've got 4 different sizes for the residents to live in. It ranges from 192 square feet, 240 square feet, 312, and 384 square feet. They all have full functioning bathrooms, heating, cooling, water, sewer, and they very much the quality of them. They're all designed by BSB Design, which is a nationwide architectural firm headquartered in Urbandale. Very tastefully designed and will be completed also professionally.
We actually built that on the
screen. That's in Cheatham Park. So, Joe, do you want to hit the community building?
Oh, sure. So there's a lot to the village. We're official replicators of Community First Village in Austin, Texas, and the reason it's called Community First is because community is actually the missing piece. Most housing projects have, the home, you've got to have the roof over your head, and they have programs, of course. But what they're missing is that sense of community and that involvement of the community, and that's what makes it so successful. But in addition to that, we will have a lot of infrastructure on the site that will facilitate community, such as the community building. So the community building, initially, we're looking at repurposing the school site and having a commercial kitchen, having service rooms where folks like Primary Healthcare and Central Iowa Shelter and others can come in, Veterans Administration, and provide services just like they do it at a shelter, like they do at shelters nationwide, where local service providers come in. And there'll be gathering spaces and storage, and there'll be a storm shelter and meeting rooms and et cetera. And then eventually, our goal is to build an even larger community center in the center of the village, assuming we're successful through these phases and the city, and we want to expand it further. And so just, there'll be other infrastructure, there's a garden, there's a lot of things that facilitate community. So it's not just homes. And I don't know if we've mentioned yet, in addition to the 50 formerly homeless, maybe we did, there will be 4 people living on site that are not formerly homeless. So we'll have a staff person, and 3 volunteers or volunteer families living on site amongst those that are homeless.
We will have a transportation plan. This was an item that people were quite interested in at our other location, but about 20% of residents own their own transportation. We'll provide parking. We've got a passenger van that can shuttle people to appointments and grocery stores, et cetera. There's a DART bus stop 3 blocks west of us, and each resident will have a monthly bus pass. So using the benefits of this village, using the city's own cost of homelessness, so lifting 50 chronically homeless people into permanent homes saves nearly $3 million a year. And that's each year. Getting 50 people off the street is $3 million a year, according to the city's own research on that. And this is accomplished with 0 city funding. This will help 50 people that no other program has reached or been able to reach. It will give recognition to the city and the Chesterfield neighborhood as providing something innovative. I think it wouldn't take much research whatsoever to find out all the positive press that Community First Village has gotten in Austin. And as Joe said, we're a certified replicator of that plan. So we plan to invest heavily in the Chesterfield community, and some of the services that we offer in the village to residents will be made available to Chesterfield neighborhood residents as well. In conclusion, we hope you agree with JAPA and city staff and the city management, really. The city council has encouraged us to take this project on. And we've got the capability of doing that. So because of increased homelessness in Des Moines, benefits to the city of us developing the property, and the city and staff support and county support of the project, positive input received at the neighborhood meeting, and the city's lack of affordable homes, we're hoping y'all will vote positively for. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions from the commissioners? Okay.
I'd like to ask a question, please. Help me out. My understanding is that the school, the building, the Chesterfield, a couple-story brick building is going to be a community building. But then I thought I heard that later on down the road, there's a plan for another community building. Is that correct?
Well, yeah, what y'all saw 9 months ago, what we wanted for community services required a bigger building than is there right now. So we can imagine needing another, a second building later on.
In that case, we would repurpose the community building to really provide those services for the neighborhood and for our staff and for meetings for people to come in, since it's so convenient right there off of Maury. Whereas the main community center for the residents that live there would be in the center of the village. And that's presuming that we build more than homes someday.
Right.
That was my concern, yeah, because the building itself is iconic for the neighborhood, and also it will be for JAPA as well.
Yeah.
And so I'm glad to hear that. Thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you.
Yeah.
Is there anyone in the audience tonight who would like to speak in favor of this item? Please state your name and address for our records and sign in when you're done, and you have up to 5 minutes.
Hi, my name is Kevin Williamson, and I live at 730 Southeast 27th Court. Also founder of Des Moines How Can We Help You group, Facebook group that was developed during COVID just to help the community. I'm absolutely in favor of this project. I was reached out with, Joe got in contact with me, invited me down to Joppa to see what was going on and what he was doing. And I got to say, I was completely impressed with the project. This is a self-funded program that actually does help people step up out of homelessness. It gives them an opportunity to have some pride in the ownership of their own property, their own living quarters, and all that is a real positive thing in my eyes. I'm glad a council member or said something about that Chesterfield sign and that really making that a keystone for this project, because I lived there since 2007 and brought my family there to live in that neighborhood, and it's just been a blessing. This was before even ML King came through. Nobody really even knew anything about ML King when I bought the property, but because of some connections with the school district, I was able to find that information out. And watching this community and this whole area grow with brand new houses developing and giving the opportunity for people to really afford some reasonable housing. I'm pretty passionate about homelessness, and to see a program step up and to create a program that allows people to come up and out of that devastation, whatever their reasons are, but also to be something that's it's got some foundation to it. It's not just we're giving you some money and here we go, here's some food and going out the door. It actually gives you a program that helps you succeed, backs them up for that. So, that's really what I want to say. I was really impressed, and I want to thank Joe and his crew for inviting me out to Joppa to see what they're doing. So, because I wouldn't even have known. I knew about Joppa, but you know Joppa by a name, but to see what they're really doing, if anybody hasn't been out to see that program and see what they're doing out there, I strongly encourage you to go out and visit it, because it's a good thing going on. So I appreciate your time. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Are you here to speak in favor of this item? Please come forward. That's all right. Please also state your name and address and sign in when you're done, and you also have up to 5 minutes.
My name's Ryan Andrini, and I have a shop down here at 2550 Maury. I have a few rental properties down here. I agree with what you guys are doing. This is a good thing. I've been involved with mental illness and drug addiction for years. I've dealt with Animal Housing, been on the board, I've been a donor for them. But there's just a lot of questions I have, a lot of concerns, like when you get this many people with mental illness, I'm not sure pretty much mental illness, it's always an explosion. They don't get along. I'm sorry. But when you get a lot of people in the same area that have mental illness, there's going to be a lot of problems. And I don't know if they have a backup plan for that other than 4 volunteers. They just clean this area up. They just built a dozen homes right down here. I've had a lot of problems with homelessness, but I'm for this, what they're doing. I just hope that they have a lot of enforcement on helping when there's a problem, because there's going to be a problem. They cannot live that close together. I've been around this for years. There will be problems, and I hope they have a backup plan, that's all. But they have cleaned up this area down here. I mean, my place has been gone through a few times from homelessness and drug addiction and stuff. I have videos of people smoking crack outside my building. But I do think it's a good thing. I just hope that, everything's... Are you going to have, like, city certificates on this, like inspections and whatnot, and short-term leases? I don't understand.
Well, we can have the applicant respond to some of those things during their rebuttal time.
What's that? I'm sorry.
They're going to have an opportunity for rebuttal, so we'll
Okay.
let them address some of those things.
Okay. But that's all I had, just some concerns about that. I think it's a good thing. I just hope I hope they can we just like that. They just cleaned up this whole area down here pretty well with these new homes, and I just hope the best for all this. I hope it goes well. So, I guess that's all I got to say.
Thanks for your thoughts.
Thank you.
Anyone else who would like to speak in favor, neutral, or opposed? Okay, applicant, you've got up to 5 minutes to respond to some of those concerns.
First off, let me mention, we intend to fence the entire perimeter and also have gated entry, restricted entry, along with a lot of security cameras and license plate recognition for any vehicles coming in. And that's one of the physical security. But, Joe, go ahead. I just described a little bit.
Oh, yeah, and I didn't actually, probably better say it again, because I'm not sure that you got a chance to hear that. We will have a lot of security. There's going to be a fence around the whole place, a very nice fence, a metal fence that, black with the metal aluminum type thing. And it will be high enough that people can't easily get over it. We'll have cameras everywhere on poles. This is what they do down in Austin. They also have a license plate camera reader at the entrance. And so anybody that's been flagged, and what they do down there, they're right outside the city limits. So their partner is the sheriff. Our partner will be DMPD. And so we're proposing that just as they do, when a license plate's flagged and it comes on the site, immediately a text goes to the sheriff and they're on their way as soon as they can be before, anybody even has to, it's all automatic. So that's our intention as well, is to have a text go to the police department. We'll have to work all those things out. We did have an initial meeting with our latest police chief. And so there will be people living on site, and that's one of the key pieces that's magical. We will have a staff as well as volunteers on site living amongst those. Down in Austin, they have about 1 in every 18 people is a volunteer, and then also they have staff. Even the CEO lives on site. So and there's families with children living on site. So certainly, when you gather people together in an environment that you are creating tension, you're creating some tension, and there's no question about that. We've been working with this population for 17 years. And there will be issues, and we will have to work to solve them. And we're looking forward to working with you to make sure that that works. Because we want to lift the neighborhood up, we want to invest in the neighborhood, and we want the neighborhood to be happy with this project. And I think you'll find that they'll be engaging and volunteering, that there'll be a lot of excitement coming out of this. And in 5 years, you're going to hear really great things from the neighborhood. So anyway, that's what I have to say.
Thank you.
I have one more question. I forgot to ask earlier. I was thinking about it, and maybe I missed it. Is this free for the people living there completely, or is there any kind of investment later?
Yeah, thank you for asking. So one of the things that does make it magic and actually addresses the concern that you brought up is that the people do pay rent, and that's one of the requirements. And so you're able to pick the size of your home and the amenities based on how much you want to pay. Now, you do not have to have a source of income, though, to come into the village. Most people that have been chronically homeless do not have a good source or sustainable source, and they can't hold a 40-hour-a-week job. So what we're doing, again, is modeling what Community First has pioneered, and that is a dignified work program with 2-hour work contracts. So someone can take on a 2-hour work contract, do it in an hour, still get paid for 2 hours, do it in 5 hours if they want to take longer, do 3 of them a day, take a week off, take a mental health day. They know at the end of the month they need to pay rent. And the beauty of paying rent is it gives you personal dignity and gives you that sense of ownership. This is my place. Nobody can take it away from me as long as I continue to pay my rent and don't disturb the peace. And it just gives you that pride of ownership, and then you don't want any criminal activity or crazy stuff going on, and you're the first person to call the police, which we would encourage. Call 911 if you see anything, just like in your neighborhood. So, yeah, definitely people do pay rent, but they don't have to have a source of income to come into the village.
Thank you. That exactly the reason you stated was why I asked, because I think that is in fact true as well. So.
And I want to reiterate something Joe said just at the beginning. This is not a homeless resource center. We've got a homeless resource center on Euclid. These are permanent homes for permanent residents. These people are not homeless. They're permanent residents in a permanent home, in a subdivision, just a smaller home.
And we won't be providing any services for just homeless people out of this site. That will all still continue to happen out of Euclid, as Jim said, and out of our outreach where we go out to where people live every single week.
I have a comment. I'm glad to hear that. And when I saw the phrase temporary home or temporary house, I can't read it from here, I thought, so temporary house, so this is built out of, plasterboard or something like this, is not a temporary house. I think maybe a word that doesn't convey something that's here today, gone tomorrow would be a good idea. It's a permanent building.
I was just going to see if I could show that picture again. That's okay. I'm not finding it immediately. Well, you can see in the bottom, it's kind of small here, but that's a home we actually built, Bill, in Cheatham Park. And so that's a 380 square foot home designed by BSB Design. It's got 6-inch walls, so it's very quiet. It's got 6-inch mullions, vaulted ceilings, ceiling fans. It's pocket doors, some really cool kind of architectural features. And so this is very much dignified. The temporary home you're speaking about is one of the original tiny homes we built back in the day years ago when we were planning. In fact, STEM classes at several high schools in Des Moines built those. And so we want to move them to the property, but we are not going to use them for formerly homeless people. These will only be used for, as Jim said, volunteers, youth groups, things like that want to come to the village and they want to stay on site. And this is what they do in Austin. They actually have a B&B there. You can literally, we're not planning this, but you can literally go on Airbnb and you can book a tiny home inside Community Village, which I highly recommend if any of you are in Austin. But that's not what we're doing. We're going to use them for youth groups and things, but we do want to move those tiny homes, and those are the only temporary homes that we're envisioning, that we're planning. This is all permanent housing for the residents.
My only suggestion was perhaps you could come up with a phrase that is more positive in terms of the permanence of the building itself rather than temporary. It sounds like, here to, anyway.
Yeah, no, and we call our homes like this one here that we're building for residents cottage homes. So they are very much not temporary. The home you're referring to is just those 5 tiny homes that we're going to bring over, or 6, I think, that we're going to bring over for the temporary.
And also it's for temporary, people to stay temporarily. It's not, those are not for permanent residents.
There will be no temporary housing for permanent people on site at all. It's all permanent housing.
Short-term housing, Will.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking, short-term rentals.
I get it. You're trying to help us with that. Thank you. And I'm sorry I called you Bill. I thought I read Bill, but I see that you're Will. Sorry about that.
Hey, just a quick question. I'm assuming you guys will have some type of a drug, alcohol ban or policy to ensure neighbors have some comfort.
Yeah, so that is really interesting. Down at Community First, they actually do not have any such rules. And so their rules are really you must pay rent and you must not disturb the peace. You can't, and you have to follow the law. So basically, it's just like you're in my neighborhood. And if you, in about every neighborhood in Des Moines and any suburb, there's going to be drug use and probably some dealing going on in that neighborhood somewhere, right? And so what you do when you see something going on is you call the police. And that's what we encourage all our residents and volunteers and staff to do as well. So, if these are adults, and if they want to have a beer in their home, then that's not something we preclude. If they are outside their home and they are inebriated or causing problems or carrying around open alcohol or smoking a joint, that kind of stuff, that's not going to be tolerated at all. They have to follow the law, and they cannot disturb the peace or have civil unrest and the peace of the people living next door, which is just like what we're talking about here. So we'll very much make sure that this does not turn into that kind of a thing. And down in Austin, they have 500 formerly chronically homeless people living in relative harmony. And there are issues, but they're partnered with the sheriff, and people next door will out you if you're not following the program. And so they've been so successful. They're expanding from 500 homes on 50 acres to 1,800 homes on 200 acres.
And Joe, one thing, this came up in our previous presentation to y'all, but in Community First, there's been no crime where residents of Community First Village have caused crime outside of the village, but there have been 13 or 15 incidences of people outside the village creating crime inside the village. So
mostly kids stealing bikes, like teenagers coming over and stealing a bike from the village. Nothing like major, but yeah, that's it. It is an interesting statistic. Also, the property, we get this about property values. People are always concerned about their property values, and in Austin, it's surrounded by homes, just like it will be in Chesterfield. In this case, some of those homes are from the 70s, and then there's some there's some $300,000 to $600,000 homes and some $1 million homes, right next door. And all of those property values have tripled since they started this thing 10 years, just over 10 years ago. So it's property values do not go down.
Any other questions? Thank you. Okay, I'll close the public hearing then, and let's open it up for discussion and motions.
I'll move staff. I think this is a great project, and I'm really in support of it.
Thanks, Emily. Any discussion? Okay, all in favor, please raise your right hand. Okay, motion passes.
If you get
Oh,
Chris's
Chris,
vote.
how do you vote?
Yeah, sorry. Thank you very much. I echo, I think this is an awesome project. Thank you for letting me have a chance to show support for this. And yes, I vote for it too. I'm in favor.
Thank you. Okay,
Motion carried.
are there any committee or district reports tonight?
No, no thanks.
All right, thanks, everyone.